welcome to the welcome to Eric Vigor's Kerbal Space Program tutorial for beginners. I'll be going through career mode. I'll try to explain any and everything I do, not in too much depth. Don't want to overwhelm any watchers. I don't want to turn anyone off of the game, but there is a learning curve, and it's almost like taking a class in school to learn how to play this game. I myself had to watch I played for about 40 hours and probably spent 12 hours watching YouTube videos before my first successful landing on the moon and the return. Start a new game. Career. Okay, let me explain this space station, or your space company, whatever you want to call it. This building right here is where you manage your flights in progress. Shows you a map of the solar system. I don't really use this that much. It's not really early game stuff, so I won't get into much detail about this. Then there's this building over here by the runway. It's called the space plane hangar. It's where you design planes, and eventually planes that can go into space. I don't mess with it much either. That's the astronaut complex. It's where you hire astronauts. But, right now, astronauts are free, so you can hire as many as you want. That's the research and development building. It's where you spend your science points that you obtain to get more and better rocketry. It's like a simple tech tree. You start out with just that one. Right now we have 0 science. And to research these parts costs 5 science. And when we unlock this one, it'll branch out into a couple more things that we can research that cost, more than 5 science. Then there's this one here, the vehicle assembly building. It's where you will assemble and design your rockets. And there's the launch pad. This one right here. It's where your rockets will launch from. First thing you need is a capsule. You can't do anything until you place a capsule. You only get one to choose from, so it's simple. Just click on it. There's the capsule. Now, in order to get science, your Kerbal needs to survive, or you need to send the science back through a communications array of some type. So, science is an antenna. That will allow me to send science back to Earth. You can get more science from getting this Kerbal. You can get more science from bringing the scientific material back to Kerbal than you can from sending it over the communications array. So if you can get your spaceship back to Kerbal, that's the best way to do it. You also get bonus science points for bringing back a spaceship that has landed on the moon, or been in orbit of Kerbin. That's the only science tool we have right now. We want to land safely, so we need a parachute. Now all we need is fuel tank and an engine for our first flight. Our first flight, we won't actually leave the ground on. Go to launch. Alright, first things first. This, where my mouse is your nav ball. I use that for pretty much all navigation. This is your stages. Like, see right now, if I were to launch, I would launch my engine and my parachute at the same time, which would be catastrophic. Such as, I'll show you in a second. Alright, the shift key brings the throttle up. Control key brings it down. The R key turns your RCS on, which we don't have any of those yet, but it keeps your ship pointed the way you want it pointed. And then there's SAS. That kind of helps just like RCS does, but RCS uses solid fuel and SAS uses electricity. Most capsules have built-in SAS, so first things first, you want to get science, and we're not going to be taken off. So crew report, there's the keep data, and then there's transmit data. With the crew reports, you get 100%, so it's okay to send that through your antennas or whatever, it doesn't matter. Used up a large portion of my electricity. You can also mouse over this here and hit EVA. It's extra vehicle something. Then you can right click on your Kerbal, take surface sample. You don't want to transmit this one, you want to keep it. An EVA report, keep it, and hit F to reboard. And then recover vessel. Look at that. We didn't even leave the ground and we got science. We got 12 science. It only costs 5 science to research that. However, we don't have enough science to unlock anything else yet. So we'll go back to the vehicle assembly building. We'll add these mystery goo containment canisters. This here is symmetry mode and angle snap. I always leave angle snap on. I'll show you why. Symmetry mode means, like, see how it's placing. There's one on the back too. It's actually placing 3 of them. 4 of them, 5, all the way to 8 now. If I don't have angle snap on, you see how I can just place them anywhere? If I turn angle snap on, it snaps them like every foot or so, It makes it, you can make it your vehicle more, symmetrical, which is good. You need that because you don't want one side of your spacecraft weighing more than the other. Then it'll be a pain to fly and blah blah blah. I'm going to change something on this. I'm going to place a stack decoupler here. The stack decoupler will separate the capsule from the fuel pod. So now my parachute won't be holding up, the capsule, the fuel pod, and the engine. After I use that piece, it'll just be the capsule with the goo canisters, the parachute, and the antenna, and that's it. You can change your stages here. Like I can make that blow first and separate, and then the engine go off, which is not the order you want it. You want the engine to go off, and then when the fuel runs out, then you blow the stack decoupler, and then you do the parachute for a safe landing. So this is good enough for our next flight. I've already got all the science I can get off the launch pad from the capsule and getting out in the surface sample in the EVA report, but I haven't used the goo canisters yet. So I'm going to right click on this, observe mystery goo. There's another 3 science. See, it's 0.9 science if I send it through the antenna, or it's 3 science if I keep it and recover it. Well, I'm going to keep it. I still got one more goo canister. Now shift turns the throttle up. R turns the RCS on. T turns the SAS on. Alright, now spacebar activates the stages. So we'll hit spacebar once and it'll turn the engine on. Now you can hit spacebar again and it'll drop everything below the stack decoupler. And then I press space again and it'll deploy the parachute. You get to choose when you do the stages like that. So let's launch. Taking off fast while we're in the air. Okay. The engine has stopped burning. So we're going to hit spacebar again to drop it. Now we're going to hit spacebar again to deploy the parachute. We're still going up. That's why the parachute came out below me like that. Now period and comma. Period speeds up time, comma slows it down. I'm going to speed up time to make this faster, but as soon as I get to an altitude of just above 500 meters, I'm going to go back to normal time because my parachute's going to deploy fully. Those are my rocket pieces hitting the ground. So now I'm going to speed time up again because this is boring. Whenever your parachutes fully deploy and you touch down on the ground, you don't want to have any time acceleration on because it could cause you to crash. Anytime your engines are burning as well, you don't want to speed up time. Now, recover vessel. We got 15 science for that, giving us a total of 26. Let's see, we've got enough to unlock one more thing. Do I want parachute struts and a small engine? Aerodynamics. radial decoupler, or solid rocket, fuel booster, and a better engine. I'll go with this one. Right. That was the fuel tank I used before. Now I have a larger fuel tank, this one here. But now I have two engines to choose from. Alright, this one has a max thrust of 215, this one has a max thrust of 200, so this one's more powerful. So, what's the point? Well, if you right click, it makes the window bigger. And it tells you, like this one here puts out electricity. This one does 2, this one does 6, this one does 7 per second. That's at full throttle. Blah blah blah. Engine ISP 320 ASL. The ASL stands for at sea level, and the 320 is the efficiency of the engine. So the efficiency of this engine at sea level is 320 and 370 in VAC, which stands for vacuum. This one is 320 at sea level and 370 at vacuum. So these look like they're just the same. This one makes a little bit more electricity, and it's more powerful. But this one here, see where it says gimbal vectoring range 1.00 degrees? This one doesn't have that. Vectoring is it's like your engine can move itself 1 degree to help you steer. This one is a lot harder to control because it doesn't vector. So 9 times out of 10 I always use this engine. It weighs a little more and has less thrust, but it vectors. We want to get up a little higher than we did last time, so make more fuel. Still the same basic design: engine, decoupler, parachute. Gonna add one more stage for more height, or more altitude anyway. This time I'm going to use a solid rocket booster. I'm not really going to use the little one, I'm going to use the big one. Thrust 250, thrust 315. Let's look how much bigger it is. This little one here is like a little one shot, and the big one is lasts a lot longer. So we got solid rocket, decoupler, engine, decoupler, parachute.
Bailey, you still around?
Turn the SAS on. I always turn the RCS on too, just out of habit. It's a good habit to come in contact with. Now let's launch. Now, before we launch, solid rocket booster. These things right here. The throttle has no control in them. They're either off or they're on. You can't control the throttle. So, the only thing these are good for is a little boost at the beginning of the launch. Let's go. I'm still turning my throttle up though, so when I kick the next engine in, I've got that. You want to continue checking your things for science in case you missed any. fixing to run out of solid rocket fuel and go to the next stage. I'll have to hit spacebar once to decouple it, and then spacebar again to ignite the next engine. Right now we're not trying to get into orbit or anything, so I'm just going straight up and straight down. Keep checking your goo and your crew.
User in your channel timed out.
The different biomes you land in, you can also get science from them. Like if I go straight up and straight down, I'm either going to land in water or whatever terrain that is, plains or whatever. Get the M key to bring up the map. It shows you your trajectory. You can also steer using the nav ball. The circle with the line on the top and the two sides is your prograde, that's the direction your ship is currently moving. Even though I'm pointed straight up, I'm still going a little to the right. Hit M again. Get back into this view mode. Go ahead and dump that engine. Ooh, look, new science. Let's go ahead and transmit that back because it's the same. Keep this. And it's pretty good. I'm going to reach a height of 455,000 meters before I turn back around. It's going to take 6 minutes, so let's speed up time. Oh, I forgot, you gotta bring your throttle down to 0 before you can time warp. For re-entry, I usually turn my RCS and SAS off. Deploy my parachute. My parachute's deployed, you just can't see it because I haven't hit enough, a thick enough atmosphere for it to actually deploy yet. But as soon as it does, it'll deploy on its own because I've already hit spacebar. Speed up time again. Chute deployed. Speed up time again. Use my shadow to tell when I land, so. As you see, the altitude is of sea level, and see my altitude right now is 1,059, but I'm on the ground, so my altitude should be 0, so you can't always go by that.
It's here?
Yeah.
Looks like I'm
Where
at
these
Mount.
YouTube videos bro leaked?
Kerbals.
Do a crew report. It's another 1.5 science there. Keep that up. Recover vessel. We got 21 science for that mission. Let's go into the science, or research and development. Those
Radial drama.
Those radial decouplers are pretty useful. I'm gonna unlock that.
I hope not. I feel bad because I feel like we got Brandy involved and she didn't need to get involved. And I don't want her to have, a rife between her and her alliance.
Keep the same capsule set up.
What's that? I'm sorry, I was listening to a voicemail.
We're saying I feel bad for getting Brandy involved. I don't want her to have any, rifes between her alliance and us, and so.
Right.
2 fuel tanks. Engine.
Yeah, guy's just an ass.
Kid is an ass.
Stack decoupler.
I mean, it was Hyper's fault, right? That he should have had it deeded, should have had it locked, but.
I'll show you what the stack decoupler.
And I don't.
This thing right
person's
here.
inactive, and it
Just
clearly looks like
separates
they're inactive,
that
like all the pins would have been knocked
from that.
down, or
The radial decoupler.
but
This thing here.
Yeah, if it had looked like it was not being cared for, and it
like
obviously was.
how we went and locked up all of that stuff on Zion, and the guy came back. We didn't have to give it back to him, but we did, right?
Yeah.
I regret doing it now because he's inactive since.
Yeah.
The radial decoupler will separate these 4 outer stacks from the inner stack.
Somebody comes to me and say, hey,
Instead of running all 5 of these stacks at the same time,
and
dropping them,
back, and like, yeah, dude, here you go.
and then dropping them
Exactly.
with that. Do it like this. I'm gonna burn the 4 outer rockets, drop them, then burn the 1 inner.
I mean,
rocket,
for my horse,
drop it,
I have
then
proof
burn
in
the
my
final
arrangement
rocket,
that,
drop it,
that
and
horse
then parachute.
was birthed on my property by my, by my horses. I have a lineage. And I still have both the mother and the father, in our possession.
Now let's throttle up. And
But,
RCS,
the reason it went missing
SAS,
is because
spacebar.
Hyper went and grabbed a couple horses. One of them happened to be Potsat, and
And
it ended up
generally,
going to
as a
his
rule of
deed,
thumb,
it
you don't want to
went
go
missing.
above 150 meters per second while you're in the lower atmosphere,
Not to
under
his deed,
10
but
to
his little
11
house.
kilometers. Otherwise, you're wasting fuel fighting. But that's kind of
Kept
unavoidable
telling
with
him, Hopkins is right. He
solid
kept
rocket
telling him,
boosters
hey,
since
lock
you
it
can't
up,
throttle
lock it
them
up.
down.
Yep.
But if you go above 600 or 700 meters per second in the lower atmosphere, you'll actually start to burn up as
Not
you
that
do
I'm
during re-entry.
really that upset that I lost 2 quality horse,
No,
I
and I
attempt
didn't
to
even
make
ask
orbit
him for
with
those
this
this
vehicle.
morning. I asked him for the 2 5-speeds.
Okay, the solid rockets are
Right.
fixing to run out.
And it doesn't really matter to me
Yeah.
about what happened
Drop
with
'em.
Potsat because
Ignite the next
it's only
one.
2 quality.
Right, we're at
But it's good to know to find out what actually
10,000
happened.
meters, so I'm going to start turning right. Look at the nav ball.
Yeah.
Degree angle.
Because I hadn't seen it around for weeks.
How this thing
Well,
turns.
for me,
slow.
I'm not going to say the guy stole him out of the
I'm
pen.
holding down the turn button.
But the fact of the matter that he was a
wanna
douchebag
get
about
it
the whole thing.
At a 45
Even
degree
when
angle
Brandy
to the
tried
horizon.
to offer, trading horses, he was still a douchebag.
You can't obtain orbit until you're above 80,000 meters.
He'll get his in the end somewhere, somehow. It always comes around.
So keep that in mind.
You reap what you sow. You want to sow being a
Igniting next
big
engine.
ass?
See, this is a vectoring engine, so it'll turn a lot better now. Plus, it's a smaller rocket now.
No. I'll probably
So
get
we'll
like a
get the
serious
M key.
warning from for a GM or something. You can't talk to people like that in
Bunch of
local.
resources
You can't
up
talk
here.
to CAs that way.
Shows you how much
And really, I
fuel
might,
and everything
I
you get left.
try not
That
to be
is
rude.
it. Ooh, that's
disrespectful to Wilfred, 'cause I
130,000.
like Wilfred,
So
but
I can
that girl can piss
cut my
off.
fuel, cut my thrust, save some fuel, get some altitude going.
No, they're gonna look into
Set
it
it
and see,
free
hey,
fall
there's
up
quite
a
a few
little bit.
people on this,
Go ahead and get
in
turned
this
horizontal.
black market trading company and see how
Right
many
here.
that we have are actually um, premium, and you're like, nah, whatever.
Alright,
This
I'm
dude
at
is being a jerk.
80,000. I'm gonna
You
go
know,
to full thrust.
you were just defending your rights of what you thought were part of the game,
Well, and
and
clearly the
Necro was
whole
butting in.
stealing and branding thing is not clear because even people more experienced in the game than we are thought that was the case. That if having a horse branded meant that you were safe from getting it stolen is not the case. It's clearly not.
Or if it was stolen, then you would have a
Just
way of
burn it.
tracking it and be able to get it back.
Right. To say that you have a horse branded and you can't get it back when a person takes it is retarded. There's no point in having it as a game mechanic to brand a horse if that's the case. To say it's just for leading purposes is retarded.
Yeah. I said, dude, in the old West and in those days, if you're
Yeah,
talking
I
about
told you the
1200,
circle
1300
with the lines on the
AD,
side of it and the top of it
people who were
is
caught
the way
stealing horses were
you're
hung.
going. Your inertia is taking you. The circle with the X through
You
it.
know, they didn't take that stuff lightly, and
The lines
it's
like
branded
that
with
is pointing
BMTC
directly
on it.
opposite the direction you're moving in. That's how
Yeah.
I would slow down. But
That's
because
right,
I want to
so
obtain orbit,
hanging.
I don't want to slow down. I want to go fast.
Yeah, I'm just done with that whole issue, I guess. I'm not going to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, it's over. Pretty
Obtain
much.
orbit.
Regardless of
comes
what the
through
GM says.
Unless
It's
he
not
comes
gonna-
through
It's
and
not a
does it
very
again.
pretty orbit, but it's not a very good rocket.
He's probably
got
gonna
orbit.
complain. They were threatening me. Be like, yeah, I was. You're a thief and a liar.
Dude, my fine carpentry is up over
I'm gonna
45
soak
and
up
a
any
quarter now.
science I can,
Wow.
if I can.
Yeah, I can't play anymore tonight. I hope Wilka's okay with me. I told her I felt bad that I was even having to have a private conversation with her.
Yeah.
It's like the third private conversation I've had with her in a week about stuff.
Really?
Yeah. I told her.
You want it to
I'm like,
land
I
on a
just need to
planet.
get
You
you
want to
on
get
CS.
to your farthest
didn't-
point
she
from
didn't
the
respond
planet,
to
which is
that,
going to
but-
be your apoapsis. And you want to burn retrograde. This symbol
I'm
here,
sure she's a very nice person.
that's prograde. That's the direction we're moving.
And like I said, I told her, I said, I know none of this
Retrograde
is
will
in
be
your
180
control.
degrees.
No, none of this is your
the
fault,
other
and you're
direction.
just here to help people. And I said, I feel bad that I feel like I'm griefing
Burning
you
against my
constantly now.
inertia. See how it
So
reduces.
it's not my intention.
Brings me back into contact
I
with
said,
the planet.
you're about the only person that's really able to.
Yeah, I
That's
still got fuel
responding to
left,
people's questions and private
and-
convoying and trying to help them.
I'm gonna land.
I told Necro in my private conversation with him, I basically
Right
he's
about
like,
there.
well,
Well,
you're
the
not. He's
atmosphere
like,
will
the
start
CA
messing
channel
with
isn't
me
to have
right
a
about there, so
conversation.
I'll
I said,
probably
there wasn't any
land right in
conversation.
there
I said, I
somewhere.
was trying to ask Wilka several different questions on game mechanics, and you told me to shut up in the channel, to not talk there. I said, if that's not the channel to ask help questions, I said, there's no GM channel stated by Wilka. I said, so thanks for not helping me and have a good night. He's like, you too.
Go ahead and drop this engine. Turn my RCS and SAS off.
Yeah, it looks like there's actually conversation going on in CA Help right now.
Oh, really?
Not
Lol.
actual questions being asked. It's an actual convo.
Don't forget to deploy your chute like I did.
Yeah, I don't like Necro for. I've heard several things about him, so. I don't hate the guy, I just don't like the guy. I do hate that little douchebag, though.
Slowing down till my parachute fully deploys. 'Cause if I'm in time warp, it might rip it off. So
guys aren't really a. Just the dude was saying a lot to get to one point he was saying.
Yeah, hey, I didn't roll for forever this time. Spoke too soon. Notice I got extra science for returning a vessel from
About to hit
orbit.
the hay.
That is the next thing I'm going to unlock. It's landing struts, different types of parachutes. Like right now I can only fit one parachute because it has to go on top of the capsule. These here can go on the sides of the capsules, meaning you can bring back heavier objects. Like let's say I wanted to bring 2 capsules with me. I could, do that, or just later on I'll unlock some heavy science gear that I'll need parachutes for. But this engine here is small and not very powerful, but it is efficient. See, the efficiency at sea level is 300 and in a vacuum is 390. And the engines I've been using are 320 and 370. So the engines I've been using work better in the atmosphere, but they don't work as well. They're not as efficient in space as this one is. So I'll do one more flight and then I'm going to end this episode of the tutorial.
Alright, Vila. I'm gone. I'm out.
Have a good night, man.
And I'll be back on tomorrow sometime.
Let's start with a small.
I don't work, so I'll be on probably early.
New engine we unlocked. It does not use that much fuel. It only has 50 thrust as opposed to the 200 and 215 thrust that we've been getting. But that's
User
plenty
left your channel.
for 0 gravity out in space. It's just not good for getting you into space. Now this time we're going to burn all 5 of those at the same time. So we want to drag all the solid rocket boosters. And then the 4 detachers right there. And then the 1 stack decoupler there. Then we'll burn these 2 outside engines. Then we'll drop the 2 outside engines. Then we'll burn the inside engine, that one right there. And then we'll drop it from there down. And then we'll burn the last engine, the new one we just unlocked, which is right there with a little bit of fuel in it. show you how the landing struts are used here. Landing gear. I don't know if this will make it to orbit or not, but it's damn sure gonna try. RCS, SAS, throttle up, spacebar. Alright, with the goo canisters, and the crew reports, I've got all the science I can get from the launch pad to orbit. Now I need to focus on landing on different places on Kerbin, different biomes, so that I can use the goo canisters and the crew reports there to get more science, to unlock more parts, so that I can get to the moon and then start doing the same thing at the moon that I just did here on Kerbin. Activating next stage. I'm at 11,000, so I'm going to a 45-degree angle. You always want to stick with 90. See where that 90 is right there? Because that's with the equator. And the moon's orbit is in sync with the equator. So this just eliminates a step later on when you're going to the moon. Stage done. Dropping it and launch. I want my apoapsis to reach above 80,000 meters. If you need to gain a little bit of height, you can turn your ship back up a little bit. Okay, I'm at 80, throttling down, and getting, overshot the runway. I'll just keep going around. Rocket stunts. I just did a 360. You can't see it from this view though, but give it some gas. Keep an eye on my resources. You can go to stage only, it's kind of buggy, but it tells you just how much fuel you have in each stage and stuff like that. So it's useful, but when you get into the more complex rockets, it doesn't work. Time to drop it and activate this new little bitty baby rocket. Changes your speed a lot slower, but it's more efficient. You get more meters per second per amount of liquid fuel and oxidizer. So it's like having a hybrid car instead of a fucking V8 Magnum. Might actually be able to make it to the moon, not land on it, but come in contact with it, and then make it back to Kerbin, which is going to be worth a bunch of science. It's a little ambitious. I might lose my ship. Might run out of fuel and get stuck in space. First thing I forgot to do is set the moon as the target. And you see these little here, closest approach, target's position at closest approach. Here we go, here we go. Just minor boost. The throttle's almost at 0. This is going to be worth a lot of science, alright. And look, see where the line turns purple? This is my path. And right along here I come into orbit with Kerbin, or the Mun, right there. But I pass through it. You know, I could gather some science along here, and then I leave its sphere of influence and come back. And it looks like, without using any more fuel from this point forward, I can come into contact with the moon, not physical contact, but you know, I can, you know, get some science from using my goo and my crew reports from passing through its sphere of influence, and then make it all the way back to Kerbal without using 1 ounce of fuel from here. And that's me right there, right next to Kerbin. So I'm going to speed up time. You can speed up time up to 1,000,000 times, but you shouldn't have to do that while you're within the moons of Kerbal. Once you start getting to, I'll zoom out and show you. See, in this area, you're not going to need to use 1,000,000 times speed boost. Like, let's say I'm Kerbin here and I want to get to orbit of Joule, and I got to go from there to there. That's going to take like 6 months, so you're going to want to use the time warp to like 1,000,000. Alright, back to speeding up time for the moon encounter. Oh, before I forget, the F5 key, quick save. See up there it says quick saving when I hit F5. Your throttle has to be at 0 when you do that. And to load that quick save, you hold Shift and F9. So usually before I make a maneuver, I quick save in case I make a mistake or overheat a rocket or something. Anything can go wrong. Lots of things go wrong in this game when you least expect it. Okay, back to the mission. If you mouse over this point where we come in contact with the moon, it tells you in real time how long it'll take. 25 minutes. With time warp at 1, it'll take, 25 minutes. But I'm going to speed that up. Alright, my closest point to the moon is 1.35
It's okay, Bela.
million.
No, I feel bad because I don't want to cause any problems with you and the people in your alliance.
Me and Necros never got along,
There's
and
your
that's
move.
the only one that seems to...
I don't hate the guy, I just don't like the guy.
Yeah. That's fine.
I mean, at least Wilka, Wilka's trying to help.
You're right.
I feel bad because, like I said, I think I've had 3 private combos with her in like a week. I feel like all I've done is complain to her.
She's a GM.
She's a GM or a CA?
CA. Ugh.
Yeah, we're
EA,
done with the
sorry.
moon. We've got all the science we can get.
I felt
However,
really bad because
Well, we can get more from landing
I
on it and
typed
getting
go to hell
closer
to
to
Necro
it.
and it went into
On this trip,
Wilka's
that's all
chat.
we're getting.
right.
And I immediately was like, I'm sorry, wrong chat. She's like, I hope that was the wrong chat. I'm like, no, really it was. I'm like, I would never tell you to go to hell.
Right.
And She's like, all right. She's like, it's all right. I'm laughing about it. So I'm really a nice guy, but that little stupid shit has pissed me right the hell off.
He irked me up quite a bit too, Velo.
Here I am trying to defend Hyper. I never thought I would say that.
Hmm. Right?
Still got fuel left, but I don't need
He would
that.
have just kept his stuff locked up like
Deploy
he
my
was
chute
told.
and hit the G
I
key
know, and I even offered
twice
for him to live at the other
to deploy your
den.
landing gear. Which it looks like I'm gonna land in the drink, so I don't even need my landing gear. But that's good to know. Or you could click up here in gears.
What you're
and
gonna
that
need to do
would-
is you're gonna have to do this spot somewhere
Gears
close
up.
by for him to be close.
Gears down. If you had lights, it's lights up, lights down. Brakes, that's for airplanes landing on runways. Something I've been forgetting to do. Land it in the water, get out of the ship. Right click on your Kerbin. Take surface sample. Keep. VA report. Keep. And get back on your spaceship. Oops, wrong button. Now recover. $79.1 science for that mission. I'm gonna save those points and end this tutorial. Have another
I'm waiting
part
for the
later.
sitter to get here. It's late.
You have to work today?
Fly
Yeah,
safe.
I have to be at 1. I have like